A woman forgot to fasten her seatbelt during the flight, and soon she got what she deserved. A fighter jet swept by. The fuselage of the two planes was torn apart by the collision. Strong air currents high in the sky instantly sucked the flight attendants and passengers out of the plane. The woman was also knocked off her feet by the turbulence. Just as the turbulence was about to suck her out of the cabin, her husband grabbed her hand just in time. But death did not spare them. Soon the cabin broke in two. Luckily, she reacted quickly. She grabbed a seat. Then she tightened her seatbelt around her waist so she wasn't swept away by the turbulence. The rest was a matter of fate. Luckily, her descent slowed down. In a few seconds, she hit the ground. Out of nowhere, she heard something overhead. It turned out to be a search and rescue team looking for survivors. The woman hastily pulls off her silk scarf. Then she stumbles out of the cabin. She shouts for attention. But the pilot was blind. They never saw the woman below. The helicopter flew further and further away and disappeared. But the woman wasn't going to give up. She was ready to climb to the top and call for help again. But what she saw terrified her. Inside the cabin, a tiger was eating the body. The woman stepped back cautiously. But she steps on a branch. The sound of it snapping instantly attracts the tiger's attention, turns its head and heads towards the woman. As she watched the tiger close in, just when she thought she was going to die, the sound of a helicopter suddenly came from the sky. The tiger was so frightened by the sound of the helicopter that it fled. The woman escaped with her life. But when she climbed to the top of the mountain, she saw the other half of the plane. It was the same half of the plane that her husband was on. She couldn't wait to jump into the cold water. But there was no husband in the cabin. But she found the flare gun. She shakily loaded a bullet and fired it into the sky. But there was no response. So she decided to fire it from higher ground. On the way, she found her husband's backpack. Seeing the familiar sketchbook, the memories of the two of them came back to her. And it gave her hope to continue her journey. But as she passed a mud pit, she found the man she'd been longing for. She jumped into the puddle in a hurry and threw herself into her husband's arms. Then the helicopter roared overhead again. The woman wanted to tell her husband the good news. But she realized that her husband was already dead. The woman couldn't hold back her tears any longer. Her voice was loud and clear, echoed through the jungle. As the helicopter lands, rescuers searched the last area. Listening to the roar of the helicopter, the woman knew it was her only hope. With tears in her eyes, she says goodbye to her husband. Then she crawls out of the mud pit as hard as she can. She fires her last flare. Soon, rescuers find her. The woman waved out the window with a sigh of relief. Because her beloved husband will stay here forever. This movie is based on a true story. The main character of the story is this woman. There were 38 people on the two planes. She was the only one who miraculously survived. She and her husband were only 20 years old. It was supposed to be a honeymoon trip with her husband. But it turned into a disaster.